What if the name we all use for AI has a billion-dollar blind spot? It's a crazy thought, right? But that's exactly what we're digging into today. And it all kicks off with one seriously massive number.
So check this out, $70 million. Now, what do you think that gets you? It's not some huge company, it's not a fancy new supercomputer. Nope, it's actually something way simpler, but you could argue way more powerful.
That was the price for AI.com, yeah, the domain name, and it was reportedly paid in crypto. Just two little letters, AI, that basically became the digital flag for an entire global industry. It was the ultimate signal to the world that you are the center of the AI universe. And you know what? That sale proves something huge. Sometimes the domain is the product.
But, and this is where it gets really interesting, what if those two letters, AI, are just wrong? Not just a little off, but fundamentally wrong for a huge chunk of the planet. We're talking about a part of the world with more than 1 billion potential users and developers.
And that brings us right to the heart of this whole thing, what we're calling AI's billion-person blind spot. It's this tiny linguistic mistake that has, you guessed it, massive economic consequences.
Okay, so here's the disconnect. It's actually super simple, but the implications are huge. In English, right, we say artificial intelligence, so AI. But in a whole family of languages, think Spanish, French, Portuguese, the grammar is flipped. The noun comes first. So they say inteligencia artificial. And what's the acronym for that? IA. See? It's not just some minor translation thing. This is a fundamental branding and identity problem.
And we are not talking about some small niche market here. We are talking about 1.2 times billion people. That's how many people speak Romance languages. For all of them, IA is just the natural, intuitive way to say it. That's a massive, and I mean massive, underserved market just waiting. So, okay, if you're going to go after this giant IA market, you can't just, slap a new sticker on the same old stuff. This little linguistic blind spot actually points to a much bigger need. We're talking about building an entirely new digital highway, a kind of internet for agents that's designed from the ground up with this huge audience in mind.
And here's how you power something that big. We're talking about the economic engine behind it all. A top-level domain, or a TLD, like .com or .org, it's more than just a web address. When a TLD perfectly captures a huge idea, it becomes this incredible, renewable digital resource. It's almost like striking digital oil. It just keeps generating value.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Let's look at a real-world example. There's a small Caribbean island called Anguilla. Years ago, they just happened to be assigned the country code .ai. Now just look at these numbers. The revenue from people registering .ai domains went from under $3 million in 2018 to a projected 93 million. This isn't just a successful business, people. This is funding an entire nation.
Wow, this chart really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? By 2025, that .ai domain revenue is on track to make up almost half, 47% of Anguilla's entire national budget. That is the insane power of owning the definitive digital real estate for a global industry. Now just stop and imagine that kind of power, but for the 1.2 billion IA speakers.
Okay, but building this whole new internet isn't just about domain names and technical stuff. It's about something much more fundamental. It's about safety. Because as these AI agents get more and more powerful, more autonomous, we run into a really critical challenge. How in the world do we teach them to care? And here's the thing you have to understand. The moment an AI agent can actually do stuff in the real world, access your files, manage your passwords, it stops being just a cool gadget. It immediately becomes an identity and security nightmare. We saw this exact thing happen with agents like OpenClaw. It went totally viral because it was so capable, but it also freaked everyone out, sparking these immediate security fears about how it could be misused. So how do we fix this? Well, the old way, which some people call the Asimov protocol, was all about hard-coded, rigid rules. The problem? Super smart AIs are just brilliant at finding loopholes. So there's a new idea on the table, the MAMA protocol. Instead of just building constraints, it's a care-based model. The inspiration is literally maternal instinct. It's not about telling the AI, don't do this. It's about teaching it empathy, context, and a deep-seated reason to care about us. Kind of like how a parent teaches a child.
All right, so the plan seems pretty clear, right? Grab a new TLD for the IA world and build this whole thing on a foundation of care. Simple enough. Except there was a huge roadblock, a very simple two-letter problem. So the team went to apply for the .ia domain and slammed right into a wall. A rule from ICANN, the folks who basically run the internet's address book. And that rule is crystal clear. Two-letter domain extensions are strictly reserved for country codes, period. So .ia was a non-starter right out of the gate.
But, a roadblock isn't the same as a dead end. This is where the real strategy kicks in. The pivot was, immediate. Step 1, you absolutely keep the IA brand. That's non-negotiable. Step 2, you apply for a domain with 3 or more characters instead, which leads to Step 3. You find awesome candidates like, say, iAgent or Intelligentsia that still capture that same exact vibe and serve the same community.
And this is where all the different pieces of the puzzle really click together into this one big, cohesive vision. You see, it's not just about building a new internet. It's about building an internet that actually has a conscience.
So here's what the whole ecosystem looks like. They call it the identity and care stack. You've got IA.XYZ, which provides the digital real estate, the verified identity for all these agents. Then you have the MAMA protocol, which is the safety and governance layer, the rules of the road. And finally, you have these guardian robots, which are kind of like a digital immune system for the network, designed to handle any rogue agents and keep the whole system healthy. And the end goal here, it is incredibly ambitious. We're talking about a global network of safe, verified, intelligent agents that are so trustworthy, you could actually have them manage something as complicated and important as a worldwide universal basic income. Imagine that. An algorithm ensuring fair distribution of resources in a future where AI is doing a lot of the work.
And all of this really leaves us with one last and I think critical question. If these powerful AI agents are literally going to be building our future, then we have to decide who writes their rules. Is it going to be based on cold, rigid code? Or could it be based on something a little more human? Something like care?